So, ladies, have you ever like laid awake at night, just, laying in the bed, but wrestling with thoughts in your mind? Like, maybe you could have done something differently or said something differently or maybe responded in a different kind of way. Yeah. Or even situations where like something has happened and you're just replaying it in your mind. I know I definitely have. I don't know what it is, but it's always been very interesting to me how, as humans, we can be so burdened by worry. Like we're just repeating things over and over in our mind, figuring things out, trying to control things that we don't have any control over because worry doesn't add anything to our lives. So I say that because statistics show that women are two times as likely than men to have PTSD from some type of trauma, some type of relationship, some type of situation that they had no control over to begin with. And why do you think that is? Perhaps it's because as women, we are told that we have to, you know, balance all of these things, the things that we desire versus the things that help our families or showing up for others, even if that means putting ourselves on the back burner. Yeah, that's exactly what it is that we do. And we're taught that that makes us a successful woman, that makes us a good woman. But that's not God's will for our life. God's will for our life is not that we just put everything above our own desires or that we sacrifice all of us in order to please someone. So, knowing that this is what statistics says, and that's according to the American Psychological Association, according to the statistic, we have been suffering in silence because we're taught to do these things with grace, to do them without speaking up, to do them without having any kind of problems, right? Yeah, but we are going to change some stuff today. Now, I definitely cannot take away worry. I cannot eliminate worry. But what I can do is give you some tools on how to be able to manage those emotions, how to be able to set up some boundaries and then pour back into yourself because you deserve that time too. You deserve to be at peace. So, before we get all into the juiciness of my presentation today, I want to ask you if you're willing to go on this journey with me today to be able to search yourself for the wonderful, brilliant parts of you, for you to be able to understand that in life we are going to have these trials and tribulations, but we don't have to then use them to gear every next step that we make. Are you ready for this journey? Because I can sit here and give you all of the information, but if you are not ready to go on this journey with me, then unfortunately you might not be able to get what you need to get out of it. So raise a hands, or even if you use the emoji reaction button, whatever, just show me that you're ready. Thank you. Oh yeah. The chat is lighting up. Thank you guys so much. All right. So before I get started, I know I've met some of you guys already, but my name is Shaniqua Brown Rodriguez, and I am an advocate for, women majority, but I'm an advocate for people in general, right? I know that in life we're going to experience some trials, some adversities, but we are all entitled to be able to be overcomers. So I'm an advocate for people who are willing to overcome adversities. And the way that I do this is one situation at a time. Life is going to throw us curveballs, but how we deal with them, how we respond to them, graders our success. So let's go ahead and dive in. It is so important. Can you guys see my slides? Great. Thank you. So it's so important for us to be able to be ourselves and be okay with being ourselves. Right? What you guys are seeing right here? Be you, not a reflection of your parents' mistakes. So I am a product of two families that did not get along. For the sake of illustration, we're gonna say they belong to two different sides of the track, which meant that on one side, I never felt like I was good enough. And the other side, I felt like there was always something missing. So as a child, I grew up feeling out of place, feeling like I didn't always belong, or why was I so different? Something was always so different. There was one time when I was about 8 years old, and my parents, my family, everybody inside, and they're fighting. I mean, cussing, yelling, hitting, pushing, shoving, all of the things. And I remember with tears in my eyes, I ran out to the driveway, got on my knees and looked up and said, God, why you give me to these people? Why me to these people? I'm not like them. And at that moment, there was some type of stillness that came over me. That was the first time that I really felt peace. That's how I learned to go to God. Because even though I couldn't physically feel something or see something, there was a peace that would come over me. So, have you ever heard phrases like, what happens in my house stays in my house? Or even like, when you get out there in the world, you better act right because you're a reflection of me. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, those are some phrases that I heard. And guys, to be honest, I think those phrases were in place so that we didn't talk. Because what were we hiding? I don't know about you guys, but I know what I was hiding. I was hiding the little girl who was coming out of the hotel room, hiding behind the little brick wall so that nobody could see me on my way walking to school because we lived in the hotel. Or hiding the fact that in order to cope and deal with life's things, we had to yell, scream, fuss, fight, no stability, because they knew the power in our voice they had to make us be quiet. So, another statistic says that 1 in 5 children grow up in a home with a parent that abuses some type of drugs or alcohol. That abuse can also be physical, mental, and emotional abuse, sexual abuse. I am not one. I was raised in a household plagued with abuse. That's how I saw people deal with life. It was so normal that by the time that I was in high school, I was a reflection of all of the chaos. And there wasn't nobody coming to save me at that moment. I accepted it. But like I said, I was always very different. I knew there was something more than what it was that I was seeing. So by the time I was in high school, I knew to get this diploma meant I was going to have a ticket out of here, like a ticket to happiness. Because there was a lot of people around me who wasn't graduating from high school. There was a lot of people around me who was getting pregnant and dropping out of school. So I felt like if I got this one little piece, then all of a sudden doors and opportunities were going to open up for me that I hadn't seen before. But like I said, I was still a reflection of the things that were going on around me. I was a product of my environment. But thank God I was able to get my high school diploma. Because after high school, I went on to dental assistant school, and I knew that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be able to have a career. I wanted to be able to provide some type of stability for myself. Because based on that 1 to 5 statistic, the impact of that child is supposed to have poor self image, guilt for being successful, anxiety for being in big settings, anxiety for the future, helplessness, and of course, addiction, which I said I took that. I definitely wore that, but I didn't even know it was called addiction. Isn't it so weird how we can go through these things in life, and until we actually put a name to it, the impact is nothing? Yeah. So I want you guys to put in the chat for me, not anymore. Because, yeah, right now. Thank you. Yeah. Awesome. I love that you guys are interacting. Definitely helps me. Yeah. So not anymore. Because we don't have to carry the burden of our parents' actions or mistakes. There comes a time when us as adults have to say, look, this is something that happened, but we can't blame it on them anymore. We have to make a choice and figure out, what is it we're going to do? What are we going to do with this pain? What are we going to then do with all of this chaos and trauma that was created by situations that we had no control over? And even if we sit up at night thinking about it, replaying it, we can't change it. So the effects of these things will not be negative anymore. So there's a couple of things that helped me along this journey. As soon as I understood what the names of these things were, right? Trauma, addiction. Once I realized what they were, I was able to understand and accept adversities as a part of life. I was able to know that if we were going to be in this world, there were going to be some things that are going to happen that we don't have any control over. And then I started to reflect and take responsibilities for the things that I could control. So even though I was raised without that stability, even though I was raised in a way that I didn't necessarily appreciate, use that use that as something normal to pass on to my children. I didn't have to show them that the way to cope with life's adversities was to drink, smoke, fuss, fight, and create chaos. That we can actually feel things, and that's okay. And we can talk about them, have conversations. I'm part of the generation where it's like children are seen and not heard, right? So we wasn't able to talk. Remember, I was telling y'all the power in our voice, right? They knew there was power in our voice. That's why they wanted us to be quiet. Yeah. I see you, Jasmine, in the chat. Yeah, not anymore. So there's a solution to this. There's a solution to all of the chaos. There's a solution to finally saying, I am no longer going to be a reflection of my parents' mistakes. And it's by finding healthy ways to cope and then practice them regularly, because the way that you feel is real. The things that happened is true. So now we got to figure out, how do we cope with those things? How do we then say this is something that happened back then, but we don't have to repeat it. We don't have to keep the cycle repeating. So finding those healthy ways to cope and then practicing them regularly. So you're going to have to think about it. Do you enjoy reading? Is that something that, helps to take your mind off of stuff? Do you enjoy journaling? Spending time with like-minded people, whatever that is, find that thing, because that's part of the solution. And then we're going to create our personal well-being toolkit. Yeah, I see the eyes. What in the world is a personal well-being toolkit? It is something that we have that's going to help us to be able to cope with life's adversities. So we got toolkits for all kinds of stuff. We got toolkits for the house. We got toolkits for the yard. We got toolkits to work on the computer. We got toolkits for all this stuff. And nobody's talking about a personal toolkit for us, for our well-being, to make sure that we okay. So if you don't have one, that's okay. But we're going to start putting some stuff in our toolkit today. So my question for you is, how do you cope? You don't have to put it in the chat yet. Just reflect on it. How do you cope? So I know the things that I saw, right? I shared with you a couple of the things that I saw. But we got to figure out what is it that we do in a healthy way for us to be able to process life's adversities, because we're going to have them. We are going to have them. And most of you guys here today have been on some type of journey, right? Have faced some type of issue, some type of battle. How do I know? Look at here. It says John 16:33. It says, "These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world you should have tribulations, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Did you hear that? Yeah. In this world, we are going to have some tribulations. He didn't say you might. He didn't say in the world you might have tribulations. He said ye shall have tribulations. But then he also said, be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Woo! Now, to me, that's power. Because God is saying here that in him you're going to have the peace. Jesus is telling you that he has already overcome the world and to be of good cheer because he's already done it. Oh, I am so thankful. So that is how I know we're going to have some type of trials and tribulations. But when you were growing up, what did you see? What type of trials and tribulations did you see? And then what did you do to cope? Because I told you guys about that time when I was 8 years old and my family was in there fighting, right? And that's what I saw. I saw the yelling, the cussing, the fighting. I saw the drinking, the smoking, the pill popping. That's what I saw as a way to get through life's adversities. I didn't even know it was called adversities. I just thought it was drama, right? Back then, we didn't even have the word toxic yet. But what did you see? How did you see people cope? And just keep that in mind, because we're going to talk about it later. So I told you guys, after I graduated from high school, I went to dental assistant school. Then I left California. Now I knew that there was something better to life. I knew that there was far more than what I could ever imagine. I just didn't know what it was. So I left California on a mission to find myself. I didn't want to be known by so-and-so's sister or so-and-so's daughter or granddaughter or cousin, niece. I just didn't want that anymore. I just wanted to be Shaniqua. But I knew that there were things that I had to deal with. As I came to Arizona, I was able to establish myself in a way that I was constantly in the community. I was constantly making an impact in children's lives. It was love. It was all love, but it was something that I was doing to give back to the same thing that broke me. So give back to families, give back to the community. And then it became something that was just a part of me. And I didn't always understand it, but of course now I do. So when you make these changes and transitions in life and you are not sure what is to come or what it looks like afterwards, believe in yourself. Please believe in yourself. That good, that feeling that you get in the pit of your gut, trust it. Trust yourself. So I know for me, once I learned how to start coping with things in a more healthy way, I feel like all hell broke loose. I I got divorced. I became a single mom. And it was so easy for me to fall back in the pattern of drinking and smoking and hanging out and partying. But pulling myself back out of that again, getting back in a better relationship with myself by going to church and getting in my word and meditating and coloring and going to school, getting educated, studying things. It became so important for me to have a better relationship for myself, but I first had to leave where I was, remove myself from that situation in order for me to then remind myself, hey, I can do hard things. I can make tough choices. I can actually raise these little people, and they're actually awesome human beings. So, my question to you earlier was, how are you coping? What are you doing to cope? So, whether it's in your phone or on a piece of paper, write down 3 healthy ways to cope. Something opposite than what you've seen. Not the typical happy hour. But what are you doing to cope? Take a walk, go outside, stand in the sun. I don't know. Garden. I have no idea. Exercise. Whatever it is, write those 3 things. And from that, we're going to build affirmations. Affirmations are basically just I statements that you say to your that you say to yourself that are positive. So it would, oh, matter of fact, some of you guys can see behind me, but I'll just read the ones that are on my wall. So it says that I am determined to make a difference. I am thankful for the talents that I have been given. I am confident in my abilities to succeed. I am ready to overcome whatever obstacles I face. I am capable of doing difficult things. I am optimistic about my future. So, in knowing that we want to have these healthy ways to cope, then you write an I statement and then seal it with it's a healthy way to cope, or this is what's going to help you get through um, some of those adversities that you face, knowing that you can do hard things, that you can overcome. Keep them close. So I shared with you guys today John 16:33. So having a relationship with God is my main way of being able to overcome adversities. But my question to you is, who do you believe in? And you can put it in the chat. Who do you call to when you're going through things? Like, who's that person that, oh my gosh, right? The sky is falling. It's the first person who you're going to call, whether it's a best friend, a sister, oh, thank you. Okay. In the chat, I got your brother, best friend, yeah, cousin. Oh, that's really nice. Teacher. Okay. Awesome. So that's pretty much, those people are pretty much where we get our assurance from, right? They're the people who validate whatever emotion that we're feeling, whatever thing that we're going through. And that's fine. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But we have to be very careful with who we place in a position over God. What I mean by that. So my grandmother is my person. She wasn't always that person for me, but as an adult, she definitely became that person for me. Uh, July 22nd marked her 1 year um, of her passing. So my grandmother's love is something that is irreplaceable. And I would go to her for everything. You know, as a child, it was a little bit more difficult because of the instability. I felt like, you know, she'd be able to find me anywhere and then kind of cover up and replace all of the chaos. The house that she lived in was the only house that I ever knew her to live in. Right? The profession that she had was the only profession I ever knew her to have. She was very stable for me. So when all chaos was happening around me, I knew that I would be able to find stability in my grandmother. So there was times as an adult that I would call grandma and just be like, you know, and guess what they said to me? And they did this to me and I can't believe, oh my goodness, right? But then let's say that Sunday, I was at the church laying it at the altar. Oh God, please take this from me. I don't want to have anything to do with it no more. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. But as soon as I get on the phone with grandma, I would pick that thing right back up as if I could change it. So we got to be really careful with who we run to before we run to God because she died. God's word says that he will never leave us nor forsake us. I need that. I need to know that whatever it is that I'm going through, that God is going to be there with me in it. Be encouraged to know that somebody is in it with you. Yes, we are all here right now. We are all on this journey of healing, and we can support each other in the healing process, but we are not alone. Even once we get off this call, we're not alone. But the people who we are putting our trust in, they pass away, they change, they die, they betray us, they talk behind our backs, they deceive us. So that's why it's important to have a relationship with God. For me, that's what helped me because I knew that there was someone who was always going to be there no matter what. I dealt with a lot of death, y'all. And I couldn't believe it once I really reflected back on it, because I'm at that age right now. We ain't gonna talk about numbers, but I'm at that age right now where people are passing. So the first time that I dealt with death was my uncle. I was a teenager. My uncle had passed away from AIDS, and that that death definitely tore me apart because it was the first time that I actually felt jealous. I felt like, why would God take somebody instead of taking me? I'm ready to go. I want to meet the king. Why am I here? So, you know, I felt some type of way about that. The next one was my great grandmother. We call her Granny. So when Granny passed away, a week before she passed away, she called for me to come. And I procrastinated because I kind of had that feeling like when they call for me, then they're gonna die. So going forward, after Granny passed away, after I went and Granny passed away, the same thing happened with my grandfather. He died from cancer. That one was different too because he was suffering. So I didn't want to see him suffer anymore. I wasn't jealous. 2018, my son was shot and he died. And that one tore me apart because I wanted to be able to go back in time and figure out what it is that I did wrong. What did I miss? What didn't I see? Right? Remember, I was talking earlier about that turmoil, right? Laying in the bed, replaying situations in our minds, trying to figure out what it is that we could have done differently. There are things that are out of our control, and that's okay. That's a part of life. But I held on to my kids. I mean, the ones that is here, they knew. They're like, oh my goodness, right? They barely could breathe without me asking what happened, who was it, where did they go, what friend were you with, why are you going there, put the location on, all of that. All of that. I became that parent. It changed me. I don't wish that on anyone. That is not something that, that is easy to experience. But trying to take my pain and turn it into something positive. I started a nonprofit organization, and I would go down to the area where my son passed away and take care of the homeless down there. How to be able to take the pain and the trauma and turn it into something to propel your future in a positive way. That's why we're here. So after grandma passed away, I can say this relationship pushed me closer to God, because I realized that those last couple of years of her life, we spent them getting a closer relationship with God. We spent them evaluating the past and trying to, you know, to process some of the pain. And for me to be going through that with my grandmother was a beautiful thing, but it showed me that even at, 80 something years old, there's still things that we haven't dealt with, things that we just swept under the carpet and just chose not to deal with at all. And I'm so thankful to God for those calls that I got, because now I knew what to do with them. So sometimes these situations happen so that we can help someone else, so that now we can talk to someone else about it. So I'm going to go ahead and read this again. John 16:33. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you shall have tribulations, but be of good cheer. Now that is tough. And I'm still working on that. And I'm not going to pretend I have it all together, y'all, because I don't. But be of good cheer, because in the midst of it, knowing that God has already overcome it, that Jesus has already conquered it, that's what's supposed to give us the good cheer of knowing that these things that are happening in our lives, everything's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. It's going to be all right. I wish somebody would have told me long time ago it was going to be all right. Sometimes I even have to look at the little version of myself, the 5-year-old version of myself, and say, "Hey, look, it's going to be okay. You're good. You're going to be okay." So all of that, I say all of that to say that it's important for us to gain a relationship with God, because there's something attached to why we are here. There is purpose attached to why we are here. And some of the things that we go through, those tribulations, those journeys, that we can find peace in them, in knowing that we are not the only ones who have had these experiences. I believe the peace is in the sharing. Just like me talking to you ladies today, the peace is in me sharing my story with you, of letting you know that you can overcome some of these things and you do not have to continue it. You can break the cycle. It doesn't have to be, well, I had instability when I was growing up, so it's okay. So now your children are going to experience the same thing. No, they don't have to. You can make a choice to make a change by gaining this relationship with God and getting a better relationship with yourself, right? We don't have to continue to do the same thing just because that's what we've seen. So my challenge for you today is to set aside some time daily for prayer or meditation. If you're not sure how, then ask. Even if it's just you sitting in the room quiet for 1 minute. Start with 1 minute. Start with 30 seconds. Be still. Let your mind be still. There are so much things that we cannot control, but the things that we can are what's in us. So the more time that you spend with yourself, the better the relationship that you'll have with yourself. The same as with God, the same as in the Bible, the same as with your friends. The more time that you spend, the better the relationship. The more time that you spend with like-minded people, the better the relationship. The more time that you spend with entrepreneurs, the better the business. The more time that you spend doing research, the better your knowledge, right? So spend some time, set aside some time, and make sure you keep those affirmations close. Put them on a sticky note, put them on the mirror. I can do hard things. I can make difficult choices and decisions. I am a good friend. I enjoy being around like-minded people. My healing is attached to being around like-minded people. So you repeat these affirmations when adverse times arise, because we saw that they will, right? We saw that they will. So we have to have something in place, and that's your toolkit. So if you combine whatever it is that you have to do to cope, a healthy way of coping with your affirmations, and get a relationship with God, start aligning yourself with like-minded people. These are all of the things that goes into your personal well-being toolkit. These are all of the things that you can take with you, because I know my trauma and my drama and all of that, that goes everywhere with me, right? And some of us ladies, we like to carry purses. We got our bags with all the stuff inside of it, right? Well, let's carry our personal well-being toolkit. Because when those situations arise, and when anxiety tries to take over, when fear tries to sneak in, we got to have things in place to counteract these emotions so that we can have that control. The only thing we can control is ourselves. So, ladies, thank you so much. I applaud y'all for showing up today, for showing up for yourself today. I am so excited to be able to see what happens next in your lives after making a choice to go on the journey of healing. I'm just, I am just so privileged to be able to be here. Thank you. Oh yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great. It was awesome for me. I hope that you guys can keep in touch. You guys can find me on social media. I have Instagram. It is under Shaniqua Speaks Encouragement, and Shaniqua Brown on Instagram and Facebook. You can also find me at my website for my nonprofit organization. It is www.onearthlove.com. Yeah, and so ladies, just remember that boundaries are biblical and healing is holy, and it belongs to you.